welcome. It is Off the Hook Sports. Say something smart. There we go. Say something smart here for a second.
A college football tradition like no other.
Yes, sirree, boys and girls.
Or a guy that just won't leave.
Wow, that is sad.
The Dave Hooker Show. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Back to Dave Hooker.
All right, so what do you think, Caleb? Calhoun, Tennessee, Alabama, and the Vols coming off a win. So we've got a lot to get to as they had an off week as well. And Alabama is not to this point. So a stretch of games that they've had to play throughout the season. Your initial thoughts on this game as we get into a Friday when he's broken it down about every way possible?
I mean, this would be considered historically like almost like a Christmas for Tennessee fans. It's like, oh, you count down the days till the third Saturday in October. And Tennessee is 2 weeks removed from a bye, but also 1 week removed from a very, very, very tough win. Now, you might say Alabama is 1 week removed from a tough win, too. That wasn't a tough win. Yes, they won by 3, but they dominated that game and let Arkansas back late. So one team fought a lot harder last week than the other to get their win.
Well, I wanted to do something right off the top, and that is what's right, what's wrong with Joe Milton. And some of these things I told you in preseason camp, and some of the people on the message board didn't want to hear it. What's wrong with Joe Milton? Accuracy, deep and short. He hits on a far shorter, smaller percentage than Hendon Hooker did on the deep ball. Also, he has trouble stringing together 6, 7, 8-yard passing efficiency underneath that can get defenses to roll up. That limits what the Vols can do on offense. That's why we've seen the extended running plays, the screen passes, and the fact that this football team is going to rely on the run. That, however, doesn't mean everything is bad. Most of the programs in the nation, including those that are hoping to play for a national title, have issues with their foundation. By the way, speaking of foundation, brought to you by Andy Mason, AndyMasonRealEstate.com. He has the best service and the prices in the biz when it comes to a realtor in Knoxville. So go to Andy Mason. He's my realtor. He should be yours. So what's right with Joe Milton, or at least the repercussions in which he is sent to this football team? One, he's okay with that. He's okay with not being Hendon Hooker and putting up the big time numbers because by all accounts, he is an exceptional leader and one of the team favorites. Number two, he is a guy that still has ability, although not Hendon Hooker-like ability. And we're seeing this offense be tailor-made around him for the time being. They're not going to run the same offense with Nico next year, and they didn't run the same one with Hendon Hooker last year. But I think you're learning about Josh Heupel and his ability to flex, his ability to change. So what's wrong with Joe Milton and his performance this year? Accuracy. I told you that was going to be the case. At sometimes his willingness not to run. But two, what's good with the Joe Milton experiment is that he's a great leader. He's keeping this team together despite the fact that they can see what happens on tape and that he may not be playing his best football. And I think that because of that, this team sticks together behind some people wondering, what about that Nico guy? So, Caleb, that's the good, bad, and the ugly midway through the season of the Joe Milton situation. I think that's in a nutshell. If you want to add anything to it, feel free. But That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think everything you nailed is perfect. And I think Josh Heupel, to his credit, knew the type of personnel he had around Joe Milton this year and decided for this 1 year, he could tailor his offense to Milton and the skills around him and try to mask the limitations. And you're right. He wants to keep, more than anything, Josh Heupel wants to win, and everybody wants to win more than anything. But you want to keep the team together. You want to keep morale high with the team. And here's a guy in Joe Milton that, as you've talked about, has commanded the respect of all of his teammates. They love him in that locker room. And I think it resonated with a lot of them. I'm not so sure they loved him, by the way, 2 years ago when he first got the starting job, because he transferred to Tennessee, didn't even take part in spring practice because he transferred too late. And basically, Dave was given the starting job because of Heupel's preferences, and it had nothing to do with him outperforming anybody in fall camp. And I don't know if that set well with the team. But I think it did sit well the minute he lost his job and he stayed with the program. And you saw how supportive he was of Hendon Hooker for 2 years, which he was very, very supportive. And he was very content, honestly, to develop in the system. And I mean, it was very much, it was a more extreme case, honestly, of T. Martin in the 90s, where T. Martin, after Peyton Manning came back for a senior season, he probably could have transferred and played pretty quickly.
Now, Tennessee's receivers haven't been perfect. Travis points out the Ramel Keaton drop that should have been an easy touchdown. And there have been some drops that we could argue whether or not they were hard passes to catch or drops. I completely understand that. But I ask you today's tough question right now. I'm only giving you two options, and it has to do with Joe Milton. It's brought to you by our friends at Zen Sports. Here it is.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Okay, so I don't want to do that all A+ to F- grading. If Josh Heupel knew what he knows now to begin the season, would he have said thumbs up on Joe Milton? He is the guy until you get to mid-October. Or would he have said thumbs down? I have to go in another direction. What say you, Caleb?
I think he would have gone thumbs up. I'm not even going to. I think he easily would have gone thumbs up and wouldn't even have thought about it because he knows how loaded the team is elsewhere. And I think that alone is going to lead him to go thumbs up just to keep the team together. So, yeah, no, thumbs up. I'm not even hesitating.
Now, let me share my thoughts with you on that. And it's brought to you by Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee, revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards. That means no more deposit bonuses that turn into deposit nightmares on Zen Sports. What you see is what you get with their cash rewards program. You get a lot of cash for a welcome bonus. Earn an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for your first 15 days when you sign up with the promo code HOOKED. That's right, HOOKED. Unlimited 5% cash back. Keep betting and keep earning with up to 3% cash back on your betting volume every month after that. And refer friends to earn a percentage of their betting volume as cash rewards too. Zen Sports bringing the cash back to Tennessee. So if you bet big on sports, you want to be betting on Zen Sports because you get cash back. Zen Sports betting just got better. Use the promo code HOOKED. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 and over and in Tennessee to bet. Here's exactly why Josh Heupel would take what he's gotten from Joe Milton at this point. They're a Cooper Mays abdominal injury from being undefeated. And then you're going into this Alabama game as perhaps the favorite. Who knows what Vegas would say if Tennessee was undefeated. But you're that close to being one of the premier teams in terms of record in the nation. So there's no doubt in my mind that Josh Heupel would have let the cards fall where they may, even though Joe Milton hasn't been fantastic when he's been on the field.
Yeah. I mean, it's very obvious that they've been fine with Joe Milton and they've been able to win because of the players around him. And you're right, they are Cooper Mays injury away. And I know people don't think Tennessee. I'm very certain Tennessee beats Florida if Cooper Mays is in that game. I think Ollie Lane just wasn't cut out for center, and I think Andre Carrick is notice we haven't seen a lot of Andre Carrick since Cooper Mays came back. And I think there's a reason for that.
Well, we haven't seen any because he's practically second string behind Lane at left guard. So
right, but he was brought in as a transfer to start immediately. So
I mean, the transfer portal is a bad thing as far as Tennessee has judged that. Now, all that being said, Joe Milton could go out and spit the bit against Alabama. And at what point are we talking about Nico and the possibility that he could play for Tennessee? How about that guy named? Could it be anytime soon? If you were to bet a mortgage payment, would it be meaningful snaps in the UConn game, which is kind of where I'm drawing the over or under, or would it be after that?
It would be the UConn game. It would be the UConn game. You're going to know enough about Joe Milton over the next 2 weeks. I mean, you're talking Alabama and Kentucky, and whatever issues Kentucky has, they can bring pressure. They do have solid pressure packages with Mark Stoops. So Joe Milton isn't going to have the easiest time against them. So next 2 weeks, you're going to know everything you know about Joe Milton over the next 2 weeks. And if you lose both games, you go to Nico immediately.
Travis brought up a great point. I rewatched the game last night, and maybe if Keaton would have caught a pass, Joe would have doubled his passing yards, not to mention the points. It certainly, and that dropped out route that he ran would have changed the way Tennessee was defended throughout the rest of the game. I don't question that at all.
Can we defend Ramel for a minute, though? And I've been critical of him on that.
Not on that pass.
Yeah, well, but here's the thing. It is hard. You're more likely to drop passes if you can't get in a rhythm. And if Joe Milton can't consistently deliver the ball to you, well, then you're going to be a little rusty on the one time the ball is delivered to you.
Yeah, but that ball had touch. I mean, that's just laid out.
It did, but you know this, Dave. Receivers are as much about rhythm as quarterbacks. And yes, you're supposed to catch every ball. But as you know this, if you keep getting targets, accurate, catchable targets, you get into a rhythm to a certain degree.
Yep. Football IQ is what's wrong with Joe. The body and physical things are all there for sure. That, according to Tennessee Tom 27, maybe a 27 referencing, I don't know, an Al Wilson guy. Football IQ and the way he processes things is a real-time problem. If you watch, say, Shedeur Sanders, even though he threw the game away last week, he processes things at a different level. He wants to stay in the pocket. Bryce Young would be another example of that. And I get the feeling sometimes that Joe Milton isn't sure what he wants that play to be, how he wants it to develop. So I think there's an issue with that. There have been drop passes, as Travis pointed out, but there have been a lot of drop passes that were heavy balls and weren't thrown on target. So I've got issues with that. And I think that it's not as simple as, it hit your hands, you should catch it. I don't think it's quite that easy. Apex Apparel Group, design, brand, market your way, unique products to promote your business with an unparalleled customer service, design, brand, market. You can do it all. Apex Apparel Group. They're right down below. Tell them Off the Hook Sports You support our sponsors, because I am telling you one thing, that's the reason we're here. Trevor says Joe Milton is looking like a quarterback mirage. You think you can see Cam Newton, but you're really looking at Walmart brand Jamarcus Russell. Ouch. Travis saying, tough question of the day. Is Dave getting a kickback from Nico to push for his playing time? Travis, I'm calling you out, because you're the one that got mad at me for so long about saying that I wasn't sure Joe Milton was a starting quarterback in the SEC. And now that there's question out there, I think you owe me an apology. I'll just go ahead and say it right there. I think Travis owes me an apology. And he's just laughing. Actually, Travis, you may owe me an apology in 2 weeks. I may owe you an apology in 2 weeks, because we were on opposite ends. We came together a little bit on the Milton debate, but I do think that I told you early, I didn't think he was the guy. So let's see what happens in a couple of different weeks, and we'll see exactly where Joe is in that regard. Some other things that I wanted to get to, and this surprised me. Tennessee their rivalry with Alabama is kind of non-consequential. You're going to have to convince me on this because to me, it's absolutely monstrous. So let's go ahead and get to that. What the H brought to you by friends at Herald Group Security Solutions.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show,
Keep cool.
a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
How many times in the last 30 years has this game cost the loser at a shot at a title? One team ranked while other unranked 48 of 83 eligible teams. One team finished ranked while other finished ranked ahead. So we'll get
one
to
team
all
finished
of
ranked
those.
while one finished unranked. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to let you clarify them all. And it's all brought to you by Herald Group Security Solutions, leadership experience, specialization, addressing problems through unique mission-specific mitigation techniques, also making your children safer one school at a time. So give me the number one and why this doesn't really have a huge effect on ranking.
So this isn't just because of the divisional split in 1992. If you study college football history, for such a rivalry of such magnitude, which is Tennessee, Alabama, are historically the two most successful teams in the SEC. We would agree they are like the Michigan, Ohio State of the SEC, right?
Yes.
Well, this game, really since Robert Nealon has retired, has been largely an inconsequential game and really irrelevant. Now, the reason
usually
I say that
because one team is incredibly down, right?
Right. Usually because these two teams are never good at the same time. And it's the weirdest. That's why it's known as a series of streaks. Days, I'm sure you heard, right? It's typically since the 1960s when a team, there was a period from like 1967 all the way to 2001 where if a team won a game, it was part of at least a 4-game winning streak in the series. Yeah. And the reason that is the case is, they're never up at the same time. So since Robert Nealon retired, which is 70 years ago, guys, only 10 times has this game did a team cost themselves in this game a shot at the national, SEC, or even division title with a loss or a tie, because there were ties during that period. Oh, that's 1 out of 7 times.
It could happen this year.
Yes, it could happen this year. For context, Tennessee, Florida didn't start playing until 1990, 40 years after Nealon retired, and it's cost a team a shot at a division 12 times. More than Tennessee, Alabama in 70 years. And 40, you're right. Now you could say, okay, Ole Miss, Mississippi State is a rivalry. That never cost a loser a shot at the West because they're never trying to win the West. That's true, but that's because they're both irrelevant at the same time, usually.
Yeah, and this isn't Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama in the same state.
Right, exactly. This is Tennessee, Alabama, supposed to be a rivalry because of the magnitude of the series. Well, there's no magnitude. Usually one team is good and has everything to play for, and the other team is just a complete dumpster fire and is just playing to hope to get to a bowl. A majority of times throughout this history, when one team finished ranked, the other finished unranked. That's been the case. Now, the reason this rivalry has such magnitude, Dave, is when they started playing annually in 1928. From 1928 to 1952, it was a different story. That was the Wallace Wade, Frank Thomas years at Alabama, the Robert Nealon years at Tennessee, and there was a period where the winner decided the Southern Conference or SEC champion. For 13 of those first 25 games, that game decided the winner of the conference, whether it be the Southern or the SEC. So the rivalry is really rooted in the first 25 years of them playing annually. But since 1952, this series hasn't been that big of a deal, and it hasn't mattered that much. And it's only for the historical and pride perspectives. But Florida's had more of an impact. Georgia's had more of an impact. And guys, this isn't just because of the divisional split of 92. There was a 40-year period between 52 and 92 where this was the case. And part of this is Alabama has had 2 dynasty coaches in Bear Bryant and Nick Saban. When those coaches were there, those were 2 of the darkest periods of Tennessee history. My theory on this, Dave, is we talk about Georgia. There's not a lot of room for Tennessee and Alabama to be good at the same time. They recruit similar prospects.
I'll tell you what, if you want to have fun, I'll give you a little opportunity to have some free fun over the weekend. bump into an Alabama fan and say something to the effect of, yeah, Nick Saban's been good. Even that coach before him was pretty good. And see if they can name who that is. Because they probably can't. Alabama fans are nouveau riche fans. They can go old school too, but they lost about a generation. Maybe Tennessee will be like that too. Travis says, I hope Alabama never wins another game. It has mattered to me. I feel about the same way about that program.
The all-field antics of the probation
are never good at the same time, Caleb.
No, the golden age of Tennessee football of the modern era, the 90s and the 2000s, just happens to coincide with Alabama hiring a string of Mikes that all were terrible. And except for one who was a good coach, but he couldn't, not hang out with strippers in his hotel room. And so,
other than that, he was doing a great job, don't you think?
An amazing job. But so Dave, the question I ask you is there room? Do Tennessee and Alabama recruit too similar of prospects to where there's not room for them both to be good at the same time? Is there a recruiting factor in this?
Is there a recruiting factor between the two schools? I'm confused.
Is there a recruiting factor in the reason that neither school is ever good at the same time? Is there a recruiting reason behind that where there's just not enough room for them to be good at the same time because they recruit similar prospects when they're at their best?
That is an interesting question. I think it helps in recruiting, but I don't think it helps like Alabama, Georgia. Like Tennessee, Georgia, or Alabama, Auburn, or Alabama, LSU. I think it has a recruiting effect, but not a massive one. Okay,
it's odd, isn't it, though, that they've never been good at the same time since the 1950s.
It is extremely odd, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. And by the way, the one period when Bear Bryant people thought he was outdated. Remember before he unveiled the wishbone? Well, you don't remember, but you probably know the history that before he unveiled the wishbone in the early 70s, he had a string of like 5 bad years and people thought he was done and that he should retire because the game had passed him by. That happened to be the Doug Dickey Renaissance years at Tennessee. So it's kind of funny. Even the peak after post-Neyland, Doug Dickey years was at its best. And the one great year that Tennessee had between Neyland and Dickey, 1956 with Bowden Wyatt, early Bowden Wyatt years, just happened to be the period that Alabama was at its darkest days as a football program, right before Bear Bryant came.
All right, here we go. We're going to talk with Fred White next. It's a Football Friday with Fred. You know how much we love that. So Fred will join us. We'll get his thoughts on the game, the keys for Tennessee if they're able to pull out a victory in Tuscaloosa. So that's always fun. And my breakdown of the game, I've got some pretty strong thoughts about how this game is going to play out. So here we go. You give me 2 minutes. I give you Fred White, VFL safety, and just a fantastic, incredible person. So stay tuned.
Sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Have you seen the latest TriStar Hats Co. product?
TriStar Hats Co.? What's that?
You know, those really cool hats, shirts, tumblers, and even license plates with 3 stars like the official Tennessee flag and stripes like the American flag. Pretty patriotic if you ask me.
Gotcha. Seen those. Those are cool. Where can I get them?
Simple. TriStarHatsCo.com. And if you order now, there's 10% on any order $50 or more. Plus, use the promo code HOOKED.
With the promo code HOOKED, you get 10% off. That's hooked.
And don't forget free shipping with any order over $50. Stock up at TriStarHatsCo.com. That's TristarHatsCo.com. There are plenty of wannabes out there, so make sure you go to TristarHatsCo.com for the best quality and customer service.
Will do, and I'll be sure to use the promo code HOOK. That's hooked when I do to save an additional 10% off. TristarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. is a trademark of TriStar Hats Co. LLC. Any use without express written consent is prohibited.
Thank you. We appreciate that, Nico.
A college football tradition like no other.
Yes, sirree, boys and girls.
Or a guy that just won't leave.
Wow. That is sad.
The Dave Hooker Show. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Back to Dave Hooker.
Love this. Fred White joins us now. And it's brought to you by Herald Group Security Solutions and Leadership Experience Specialization, addressing problems through unique mission-specific mitigation techniques, also making your children safer one school at a time. Go to heraldgrp.com. That's right down below. Also down below, you can purchase the Celebrate 98 book with Fred White's autograph, which I think is pretty darn cool. So check that out, and we'll get that right out to you. Great for Christmas presents. And Fred, you are all orange. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Dave. How about yourself?
I'm well. Tell me about this this revenge factor. As far as a player, I'm sure you guys wanted to get revenge against Florida at times, but does it really affect how you play the following year?
No, your preparation affects how you play. I mean, that you can go in there with false bravado if you want to. You still got to play and win the game. I think that wears off after the first few minutes of the game. If you get hit a few times, that revenge stuff starts to change, and you start to realize, okay, what's my game plan? How do we stop the run? How do we stop the pass? How do we play within our defense? That's it.
Let me ask you this. Does it help you at all in the dog days of June when you're out there practicing on your own, or the Monday, Tuesday before a game in which you lost the week before? Does it provide that motivation? I know once the ball's kicked off, it doesn't, but is there anything to that at all?
I mean, we got our butts whipped by Nebraska and then played Nebraska again in 96 in 99, and it was no different. I mean, it was. Did we want revenge? Absolutely. But you got to go out there and you play the game. What Herman would say, you play to win the game. Well, sometimes revenge don't mean anything. That's just a false sense of bravado. You got to go out there and execute and win the game. Like I said, once you get hit in the mouth a few times, that started to change because you start thinking, okay, if I'm just worried about revenge, I don't know if I'm going to win this game.
Well, y'all put up a much better fight with Nebraska, I felt like, in the 99 game than y'all did the 97 game. But Fred, does it have an effect? I guess where we're at is, you're right. I'm with you. The preparation goes into it when the preparation matters at kickoff. The revenge factor doesn't. And once you get a couple of hits, that's it. But do you think that Alabama, for instance, may have been circling this game given last year, saying, okay, we're going to prepare maybe a little bit extra harder for this game than we did against Arkansas last week, where they almost came back and beat us?
Well, I look at it from another standpoint. I'm looking from Tennessee's standpoint of, we got to prove that it wasn't a joke, that it wasn't a fluke, that we beat you. How about that point of view? I don't care about the revenge part of it. I care about what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. All right, well, everybody feels like that was a fluke game. You got a great pass toward the end of the game to get you in field goal position with a quarterback that everybody loves. Hey, man, go out and prove that you didn't just look up on a win. We had to do the same thing in 1996. We played in 95 and beat them 41-14 in Birmingham down there. And then we come to Knoxville in 96, and that game was probably more intense than any game we played that I got a chance to play in against Alabama. And that's the one I told you, Dave, that sticks out to me the most. That game was very tight. I think we may have won 20-14 or 21-14, somewhere around there.
20 to 13,
It was something like that. So It was one of those games where, man, you got to go out there and prove that you were supposed to beat them. Plain and simple. But once we won in '96, I don't think we ever thought we were going to lose them again.
Yeah, and it was much more of a dogfight. The way that you beat them the year before was obviously, I mean, that's a legacy when it comes to Tennessee football and what you guys were able to do in Birmingham. But it was a little bit closer. Do you like this team and their ability to win close games, or have you seen enough to know that for sure?
Well, we just won one.
Yep.
That was a dogfight in our house. Defense stood up and they stepped up to the challenge. I think that was what we needed to see before the season started. Before the season was over with, we need to see our defense get out there and get after it like that. And I think going into this is your toughest part of your schedule. Big time players make big time plays in big time games. You want to be legendary in Tennessee? Make plays against teams like Alabama and Georgia. Those are the plays and the games that people remember. They remember Jamal Lewis going for over 200 yards against Georgia. They remember that. Those are things that you remember the most vividly. You remember the Georgia game in 1998 because we shut down Quincy Carter and a high-powered offense. I mean, those are the games you look at and remember. You look at Leonard Little hitting Freddie Kitchens on a option play or whatever it may be. People remember that image. So if you want to be known for being good at Tennessee and not be taken as a joke or not to be looked at as overrated, these are the games you do it in.
This on the message board, I think this is too soon. I'll be the first to tell you if I don't think it's too soon. Trevor, we want Nico. We want Nico. We want Nico. That may be the case in 2 weeks, but it's too early now, in my opinion. Fred, what do you think?
I don't think it's going to be in any part of this season if he takes over that job.
I don't either.
I don't see it. Here's the thing. I look back a few years ago. You had a top quarterback at Clemson. You had Kelly was the quarterback that was starting, as well as Trevor Lawrence was the backup. Now everyone was calling for him, but not only were the fans calling for him, his teammates were. Have we seen that yet?
No.
Thank you.
No, the players love Joe Milton.
And there you go. So if that's what you have, you keep that chemistry going. And the only reason why Trevor Lawrence got on the football field is that the starting quarterback threw 4 interceptions against Georgia Tech in the first half. And he comes in the second half and throws 4 touchdown passes to bring them back to win the game. The rest is history at that point. I don't see that happening here. I look at what we have. I think our offense is what it is. People want to get back. People want to get back to what they had last year with 40-something points a game, those type of things. Hey, man, as long as you win the game, I'll take a win if it's just 0.25 points. I'll take a win regardless.
Fred, what does it say about? Does it say a lot about Josh Heupel's program? Particularly getting ready to play Alabama. Look, I'll be honest with you. Until last week, I didn't think Josh Heupel as a coach was capable of winning a game like he won last week because he never had done that before.
First time ever.
Yeah, first time ever. Does that say a lot about him where this guy loves offense, he loves to score a lot of points, but if he gets stuck in one of those SEC slugfest, he's able to pull it out? How much does that say about Josh Heupel, the coach in the program he's running now?
Well, it shows that he could coach. I mean, because you got to be, and when it comes to close games like that, and it's a dogfight, and keep in mind, this is the SEC. You can go back and look at any championship team that's ever came through, and we've had a lot in the last few years here. Over the last 20 years, we've had a lot of them. They've had to win some of those grinded out games. They have. And this is what it's about. You're playing against some of the best talent there is in the country, right here in the SEC when it comes to defenses and defensive coaches. Guys are revamping things all the time. Most of the talent is right here. You look at the top 10 when it comes to recruiting, how many of those teams are SEC teams? And how many of those teams we actually have to play every year? So you got to look at those things as well. You may not have a blowout win so you might think that that's the case. Oh, we should blow these guys out. Hey, give credit where credit is due. Our offensive line has done a good job. They've opened up holes for the running game. And at some point, we may be able to hit some of those plays downfield. But at this moment, we need our defense to be playing like it's playing. In order to win a championship, you got to have there are going to be some games like that. Hey, do you guys recall back in the day in 1997, we beat Vanderbilt, a lowly rated Vanderbilt, 14-7 to win the game. We also beat them 13-14 in another game. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So those things do happen. It's a dogfight every week. And you're not going to sneak up on anybody like we did last year. Nobody expected what we got last year. Not one person. Not one. If you expected that last year, I will applaud you myself and stand up on it as well. Because no one expected for us to go what we went last year. That was not a fluke, but it was like something we didn't expect. In year 2, did we actually expect that? No, we didn't.
No. It's interesting. You have two teams in Jalen Milroe that's getting the chunk plays, which Tennessee did last year. And you have Tennessee more of a running football team, but two of the better defenses in the SEC and beyond. So would you rather go into this being the chunk play team or the team that can consistently run the football?
Honestly, I want to be the team that can run the football because we can keep our defense off the football field and get them some rest every now and then. And also still be able to take your shots downfield because that running game will open up play action at some point. Now, whether we hit that deep ball or not is a different question, but I think at some point that's going to happen. The more you have an opportunity to do those things, the better you will be able to get those balls down the football field. But our offensive line continue. I'm expecting and hoping for our offensive line to continue to help us rush for 200 yards a game. And when we're rushing for 200 yards a game, we're 5-0. I mean, I'll take that 200 yards a game and say the same. I remember back in the day when we played against Florida, even though Florida had the high-powered offense, the fun and gun, or whatever Steve Spurrier ran, the team that won that game in those series was the team that rushed for the most yards.
Always.
Always.
Yep.
Always.
And people forget Steve Spurrier didn't win that national championship without Bob Stoops, Javon Curse-led defense in 96 too.
Mm-hmm. You got to have a tough defense in order to win a championship. And you got to look at Georgia. You look at Georgia the last few years. Their offense was okay, but that doggone defense was stellar. I mean, they won those games with mostly defense. If you can't win, man, you can't score. But on offense, if you have an opportunity to get a score, that helps your defense out. But if your defense continues to get you the ball back and make plays like they've been doing, you have a great chance of winning the game. There's going to be some games where you just not. And let me say this too. Texas A&M is not a bad football team, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I agree.
Agreed. I look at, let me give you my player out of left field. I like to do this from week to week. But it's Malachi Moore at safety. He's oftentimes going to line up on Squirrel White. He's nursing an ankle injury he sustained in the win over Texas A&M. Questionable this week, but expected to play. Alabama's entire team is expected to be healthier than last week. But well, I tell you what, with Squirrel White's quick, so I'm going to find out what Malachi can do pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing. Getting the ball in his hands, whether it be on screens, whether it be on jet sweeps, we need to be able to find ways to get the ball in those guys' hands in open space, one-on-one situations. And I'm looking forward to that, whether it be a deep ball or a short pass. Just getting them opportunities one-on-one. If you look at Alabama, nothing's changed with them. Their defense is still the same. They're going to play the same stuff they did last year. They will take away that deep ball, though. They're going to make us grind it out and go down the football field. I truly believe that's what they're going to do. And the best part of their defense, though, is their short defense game. We haven't shown that we can take the top off the defense this year consistently, but I feel like if we can run the ball in this game, we have an opportunity to do something big.
Good stuff. Anything else from you, Caleb?
Yeah, Fred, I want to actually flip to the other side real quick with taking the deep ball off. We're all talking about Tennessee's pass rush, and we should because James Pierce looks like a transcendent, legendary player. And I've been giving you shout-outs all month, Fred, because you called that in the summer about James Pierce, and you nailed it.
Absolutely.
And
I feel like he's going to be one of the most amazing defensive players we've seen around Knoxville, Tennessee in a long time.
Yeah. But I want to give some credit to the secondary. You know, we talked yesterday about Kamal Hadden, who PFF is grading him a top 4 cornerback in the country right now. And Wesley Walker and Jalen McCullough haven't really given up anything over the top. So while Jalen Milroe, his big advantage is he hits, 2 or 3 deep shots a game. That's where his stats get padded pretty much every game.
Mm-hmm.
You feel pretty confident in Tennessee secondary to make sure that those deep balls aren't given up on Saturday?
I think those things, what I'm going to always say this, you can give him your best corner if he doesn't have a pass rush. It's going to be a long day. So I'm looking forward to being if our guys on the defensive side of the ball, Aaron Carter and Beasley and James Pearson, those guys can get to the quarterback and just put pressure on him. You don't even have to sack him. You got to hit him a few times, though. You got to put him on the ground a few times. You got to get to him, get in his face, and pressure him and make him throw the ball faster than what he wants to. Throw off their time and some. If you can do those things, our secondary will play well.
Yeah, and Fred, I thought the Gabe Judy-Lawley interception was emblematic of the way this team is able to play back a little bit of zone, and they don't have to commit as much pressure, and that means more man-to-man. I thought that is something that Tennessee didn't necessarily have this year, but has this year because their front seven is so good and create pressure without sending extra guys. We certainly appreciate it. Fred, if people need to get fantastic insurance in the Atlanta area, how do they do that?
Give me a phone call. It's 770-381-0367. You can also look us up on social media, Facebook platform, Instagram. Well, I always say Instagram. And I was going to say Twitter, but it's X. I guess it's X. The name is stuck. But we're there as well. If you guys have any opportunity to give us a call or check us out online, please do so. Also, Google us at Fred White Allstate.
Good deal. And we got the Big Orange Crunch at the Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in Delta and CBD products. 10% off if you use the promo code HOOK. And if the Vols win on Saturday, the Big Orange Crunch is 50% off. Thank you, Fred.
You're welcome. And by the way, Trevor, yes, you can. Give me a call.
Trevor, what was Trevor asking about on the message board?
He lives in Dalton. He wants to know if he can get a quote in Dalton. Yes, you can. As long as you're in the state of Georgia, baby.
Yes, you better do that. Find Fred White and let's get a policy done now. How about that?
Can I take an insurance policy out on the fact that I bet on Atlanta last week against Washington, Fred, and your Falcons really let me down?
I've been doing some research, Fred, and Caleb's picks are so bad that his premium would be through the roof. It'd be awful.
Hey, Caleb, let me tell you this real quick. This rule of thumb: never, ever, ever, ever bet on the Atlanta team. You will lose.
Desmond Ridder had never lost a home game in his career until last week.
You will lose if you bet on the Falcons, Hawks, or the Braves. I promise you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fred. Be safe, my man. I appreciate it, buddy. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Tennessee beating the Tide. I hope so for you.
Absolutely. Go Vols, baby. My cigars are ready.
Thank you, buddy. And they got all kinds of sports treasures at Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia, daily updates. Go to facebook.com and follow them at sportstreasurestn.com, sportstreasurestn.com. And I share constantly what they have, and it is super, super cool stuff. So you got to check it out. Follow them and be a part of that community because it is awesome. Also, Tennessee Cider Company, you can use the promo code HAT and get some free swag with any order, and you can get cider delivered just about anywhere in the United States of America. So how cool is that? He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Stay tuned. Coming up, we got some prop bets, and I'm destroying Caleb in prop bets. It's been pretty ugly, and it'll be brought to you by Zen Sports. Stay tuned.
Got cataracts? We can fix that. Never miss another moment. With a little help from Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn at cctis.com.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry, and we at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs pride ourselves in the highest quality craftsmanship from a family-owned business here in Knoxville for over 35 years. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we also take pride in being an affordable option for all your game day accessories, especially those fire opals. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we want to be your jeweler every day and especially on game day. Go Vols!
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air. Dare to compare.
These mountains hold and defend a spirit far better than moonshine. A drink that holds flavor, that becomes necessity. A hard cider made and relished by folk who are as hearty as they are legend. A refreshment that can only be found in one place. With a taste that makes you say, give me 3 bottles of the good stuff. Tennessee Cider Company, where necessity can be found.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Who?
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
We broadcast weekdays at 10 a.m. If you would like to order the Celebrate 98 book, that is just below. They continue to fly off the shelves, and thank you. Leave us a review on Amazon, but order it from us because Amazon takes a ton of money. I'll just tell you, that Bezos guy, man, he's got something figured out. But you can order not only a soft cover, but a hard cover. You can order autographed hard covers and soft covers and an autographed soft or hard cover from Fred White. More players we will be adding here momentarily throughout the coming weeks. So we're looking forward to that. Rick Terry Jewelry Design. They want to be your jeweler and look for affordable game day jewelry, whether they're the fire opals or not. That's a Tennessee tradition. RickTerryJewelry.com. RickTerryJewelry.com. Okay. If anybody wants to jump on here on the message board, because we broadcast live at 10 a.m. and they want to rip Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. He's one of my guys that, yeah, go ahead and rip. Go for it. That's fine. I'm good with that. But Caleb, this latest thing is more about the NCAA being stupid than Michigan breaking rules. So Michigan is under investigation for evaluating players. This is pure stupidity. If this were Josh Heupel, you should be saying, go, Josh, go. Do the best you can. But describe to me, and for those that don't know, what Jim Harbaugh has gotten himself in trouble in this time.
So Jim Harbaugh, this is alleged. He's denying it. I want to get that out there. I'm also going to say I don't believe him, and then I'm going to say I don't care that I don't believe him because I don't have a problem with him doing what he did.
It's a stupid
It's a stupid rule. Apparently, you are not allowed to have scouts in the stands watching games live and picking up on signs for your team.
Stupid rule.
You can do that.
You can do that in high school. High school coaches do that. If they have an off week, they'll go and even if they don't, they'll try to scout out other opponents whenever the schedule allows. I can't believe this isn't a rule. I read the first 5 paragraphs. I'm like, well, what did he do wrong? And then they point out that it's an NCAA rule. So you're telling me that if Tennessee is getting ready to play Oklahoma and they want to see a little bit more than the television will allow, and the all 22, which is the video from the end zone where you can see all 22 players, they want to see a little more and they want to look at some signs and they can't do that. That's absolutely idiotic.
Yes, it's absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, for those who don't know, one of the reasons Tennessee became so successful under Robert Nealon, he was the first to employ film study. He was the original Bill Belichick. Because, as you know, Dave, Robert Nealon went to, I I believe it was MIT for a year. So he studied technology and understood the art of filming and everything that went into it. And he actually would have people film at other games before there were copyright TV contracts or anything like that to get information. That's one of the reasons Neyland himself was so successful. So
Scotty says they are accused of trying to steal signs. I know. Big deal. If you're not trying to steal signs and you're in football or any other sport, then what in the world are you doing? You should try to steal signs. I'm not saying go Houston Astros and bang a drum and have an electrode to your chest and all that stuff, but stealing signs in football, tell me what's wrong with that. Trevor says you're watching the death throes of the NCAA. Me personally, I hope they void their let's just say vows on the way out. And here, listen, the NCAA wants to make an issue out of this because they want to prove that they're relevant. Again, I told you, Caleb, months ago that they had added to their enforcement agency. This is absolutely stupid. I mean, this is absolutely stupid. You can go and Travis says, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. If you can't disguise your signs better than that, change jobs. Amen, brother. Amen,
also,
brother.
From the other side of that, too.
And I didn't know what they were accused of stealing.
They were accused of stealing.
That's what it is.
As a coach, Dave, isn't it on you if your signs stay the same every game?
Yes.
Like, this is, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this. Remember that Seahawks-Broncos game where I'm sure everybody in Knoxville was rooting for Peyton Manning to get a second Super Bowl when the Seahawks just shut down the Broncos? Richard Sherman, to his credit, came out and admitted. He said, yeah, we got a hold of all of Peyton's signs. We figured it out. We kind of figured out every one of his signs. And had Peyton Manning just changed everything at halftime, had he just done one switch, he would have come back and beaten us in that game. He said that. And by the way, I don't think Peyton Manning's complaining about that. That's not the same as what the Patriots were doing, for instance, where they were allegedly bugging the locker rooms of.
Yeah, that's different. I mean, that's a whole different thing. You can't bug the locker rooms. You can't. And there are certain, like in baseball, there are electronic ways that you could steal signs. You can't do that. You can't go watch the television that's playing in the clubhouse and watch the signals and that affect a game. You can't do that. But if you're standing across the field of play in whatever sport and you're stealing signals, that's part of the game.
Absolutely part of the game. And going to history, since I brought it up, I'm seeing on the message board, I got to correct a couple of people. No, Majors did not play for Neyland. Majors played for Harvey Robinson 1 year and then Bowden Wyatt the next 2 years. Neyland was recruited Majors, but he never actually played for Neyland. But yes, it's part of the game. It's, again, so you can exchange film. You have so many people on the side. How many camera angles do you have in a game, Dave? 1,000, I feel like. And you can exchange film on all of that. But you can't have somebody in the stands from, however many yards away figuring out signs and things like that. That's just ridiculous. And it's not like they're bringing a camera into the stadium because they don't let you bring in video cameras into the stadiums anymore. I mean, I guess you could try to film the signs on your phone. That wouldn't be good quality. So
Well, I mean, I know that they shoot the all 22, which is from the end zone, but do they not shoot? I mean, why wouldn't you shoot why wouldn't if you're Tennessee and you're playing Alabama, would you also not shoot their coaches from the sideline?
Well, okay,
you mean
film? And let's be clear, we're talking about filming the coaches, not shooting literally the coaches.
Oh yeah. We're not gonna shoot them, but videoing the coaches, would you not be able to do that the same as high school coaches do? And then okay, so say you don't send. Who does Texas A&M play after Tennessee?
Who do they play? Actually, I need to look that up.
Whoever that is. Okay, so they don't send, that school doesn't send their scouts to look at the Tennessee A&M game to try to steal signs. Well, if everybody's on board, then Tennessee is going to send whatever information they have to the next opponent. A&M is going to send whatever information they have to Kentucky, depending on if it helps you or not. It's just.
I have a theory on where this came from, though, and I would like.
I'll tell you where it came from. Is they're trying to get rid of Jim Harbaugh because he's terrible to work with. That's where it came from.
I know who this came from, Can I just play a quick clip for you from a
Yeah,
guy
let's
that
bring it
Tennessee
up
wanted
here.
as head
What do we
coach?
got? What do we got? What do we got?
This is Greg Schiano at the Rutgers-Michigan halftime interview.
Oh, Lord, Greg Schiano. Here
Coach,
we go
4
again.
penalties for your team in the first half. Some that cost you. How do you clean that up in the second half?
Well, there's some stuff going on out there, so we just got to slow it down a little bit. There's some things going on that aren't right as well, so we'll talk about how to handle it.
Does Michigan defense keeping Gavin Wimsatt in this passing game in check? How do you adjust?
Well, just got to keep playing. You know, in the game, we just got to keep playing.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Boy,
Greg
wow.
Schiano snitched. Greg Schiano snitched.
Yeah, way to win the Captain Doofus Award, by the way. Whining about stealing signals on the field, and then you snitch. Ugh. Wow. Can you imagine Tennessee still having him? Because he's the kind of coach that could hang on and win 9 or 10 games for a while. Tennessee's so much lucky. I mean, the way things shook out. I know you fans went through a decade of dysfunction, as Mark Nagy called it, but I'm telling you what, you guys, you deserve it. You deserve Josh Heupel. You deserve the way things fell, because goofy, absolutely goofy. Prop bets. This is my favorite. I like this more than actual gambling. So the 5 best prop bets for Tennessee, Alabama. Here we go. Number 5, Jalen Milroe under 228 yards, 0.5 passing. Thoughts?
Yes. So this was a tough one for me. For the record, I don't know if you follow how much you followed Alabama this year, Dave. They are the most inconsistently winning team possible. And I know that's weird to say. Sorry, what were you trying to do?
Crazy.
Oh, you think Jalen Milroe goes over to 28.5?
Yeah, because of one chunk play. I think the rest of it will be like a, butt 50, and then I'll have one chunk play.
That's possible. But I think Tennessee secondary is a little bit better than other secondaries and won't allow that to happen, funny enough. But so I think he goes under, but I just had to do 5, and I had to put 1 bet on Alabama. But if I'm being honest with you guys, don't bet anything on Alabama. Who's a team, Dave? I'm trying to think. Maybe this was the 98 Tennessee team, but who's a team that you can remember that they may have won a national title, and they won it a different way every week?
Well, Tennessee didn't really. They were always a running.
The defense was all good. Yeah.
Yeah. First quarter over under is 9.5. Both teams or just one?
I think both teams. I think it'll combine. I think they'll combine to go over 9.5 in the first quarter.
That's cool.
Oh, hey now. I agree with that. First quarter over 9.5. Number 3, Joe Milton III, Esquire, junior, senior, the 8th under 197 yards passing. Wow, that one's easy. Hey now.
You don't think he's going to hit? Yeah, he's not going to hit 200. Joe Milton's going under 197.5. I was all in on this because communication issues on offense that have been clear on the road for Tennessee since last year, even with Cooper Mays in the game at times. They're committing way too many penalties at home. Joe Milton's issues throwing the ball. This is just an obvious one that he's not going to hit 197.5.
Jalen Wright. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead and go. Go ahead and say it.
Jalen Wright over 662.5 yards passing or rushing. Goodness gracious. Sorry. I think the COVID is finally catching up to my middle cognition. I apologize.
Yes. So before you give me your sound effect in response, this is just a belief in Jalen Wright. He's running the ball extremely well, and it's hard for me to believe that he's not going to ball out on Saturday against Alabama. If for any reason, then Josh Heupel's going to keep giving him the ball until, look, he's going to run the ball a lot. Let's just call it what it is.
Joe Milton III over a half-yard passing. In other words, he throws for a TD. You got
over a half touchdown.
Or half touchdown.
Yeah, Joe Milton has thrown a touchdown pass in every game he started at Tennessee, except for the Pitt game 2 years ago that he left due to injury in the first quarter. Joe Milton's throwing a touchdown.
I'll give you another. How about another one? You wanted a bonus one?
Sure, why not? Let's go.
Okay, so that's a big hey now. Hey now. This person right here will catch a touchdown pass. So if you want to put the over under at a half pass reception touchdown, I will take the over for this guy.
What's up, everybody? This is Jacob Warren asking you to like, subscribe, and share. Dave needs this.
There you go.
Let's play another over-under, Dave. Dante Thornton, 2 drops.
Hey now.
Have a fantastic day, everyone. Final
Nick,
pick.
we're not-
What are your picks?
Sorry.
Or do we have more
Uh,
to go?
No. I was just going to see. No, that's all with the picks. That's all with the picks. Yeah.
I saw where Jimmy Hobbs picked Tennessee by 10 in this game. I've got Tennessee winning by about 4 points. I think Tennessee wins a 24-20 game somewhere in there. And the interesting part about this is, Tennessee knocked a guy named Steve Spurrier off the coaching perch. Now, you wanted to bring this up. I don't know that this is happening anytime soon. I think Tennessee could beat Nick Saban and he still return and he still be a great coach. But you seem to think that this could be kind of a nail in the coffin sort of win if Tennessee's able to beat Nick Saban.
Will Tennessee sit Nick Saban? Dave, you're the one who made the prediction that Nick Saban won't win another national title.
I did.
And my question is, if Nick Saban loses this game, that'll be the second straight year he misses out on the college football playoff because he ain't going with 2 losses. The third time in 4 legitimate years, and I'm not counting 2020, that he wouldn't have made the college football playoff. And his last legitimate national title, because I'm not counting 2020, will have been 2017. Could Nick Saban go into early retirement?
No, I think he's coaching for a long time.
Tennessee sent Bear Bryant into early retirement. They beat Alabama. Alabama was number 2, undefeated. Tennessee upsets Alabama in 1982 to end the winning streak. Alabama loses.
It's also
4
the middle of the
straight.
season. So how are you going to possibly, with Spurrier, it was right after. With Bear, it was right after. How can you possibly say that this?
No, it was the middle of the season with Bear. Bear retired at the end of the season, and Tennessee upset Bear in the middle of the season, and it sent Alabama on a spiral of a 4-game losing streak to miss out on playing for anything. And I think Bear just got tired. And I mean, look, we as we know, Bear had a lot of health issues too. I mean, I don't know if he could have lasted another 5 years at Alabama, to be fair. Nick Saban's in much better health than Bear Bryant. But yes, could this send Nick Saban? I'm just saying, guys, could Nick Saban get Nick's Alabama's sick of winning? And that's a weird thing to say, but I think they're so sick of winning that they don't understand what it's like to be losing. And I think Nick Saban may feel, I could see Alabama fans come down on Saban irrationally.
Over under 40 time, and I'm going to put it at 5.2 seconds of Paul Bear Bryant's liver. Have a fantastic day, everyone. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.